Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. For as long as he can remember, Brendan Cooper has been haunted by an otherworldly presence. A tall, thin, shadowy figure wearing a high top hat. This mysterious entity, known in paranormal circles as the Hat Man, has been a constant, if elusive, companion throughout Brendan's life, appearing in various locations and circumstances since his earliest childhood memories. Brendan's first encounters with the Hat Man occurred in his childhood home. As a toddler, barely able to form coherent sentences, young Brendan would often see the shadowy figure standing silently in his room. The entity would stand behind his bedroom door, watching him. Sometimes it would pace up and down the hallway at night, but it never made a sound. These early experiences set the stage for a lifetime of mysterious encounters that would follow Brendan wherever he went. The Hat Man, as described by Brendan, is an imposing figure, standing well over 6 feet tall. His form is unnaturally slender, with narrow shoulders and elongated limbs that seem to defy human proportions. But what truly sets the entity apart is its complete lack of features. Brendan describes it as being like a black paper cutout in the shape of a person, with no face, no clothing details, just pure darkness. The entity's hat is much taller than a regular top hat, more like a stovepipe hat, reminiscent of the kind worn by Abraham Lincoln. What sets Brendan's encounters apart from many other reported sightings of shadow people, or more specifically the Hat Man, is the lack of malevolence he associates with the figure. While many who claim to have seen the Hat Man describe feelings of dread or terror, Brendan's experience have always been marked by a sense of calm curiosity. He has never felt threatened by the presence. If anything, the entity seemed interested in him, like a silent observer, always watching but never interfering. As Brendan grew older, the sightings continued, following him from home to school, and even to friends' houses. In one particular vivid memory, while playing with his dog and throwing a ball towards the woods that lined the backyard, Brendan saw the Hat Man standing at the very edge of the trees. On another occasion, while playing in his wading pool with a friend at the age of 5 or 6, he saw just the upper body of the entity poking around the side of his house, watching him. These outdoor sightings occurring in broad daylight added a new dimension to Brendan's experiences, proving that the Hat Man wasn't confined to the shadows of his bedroom. The Hat Man's appearances weren't limited to outdoor settings. Throughout his years at elementary school, Brendan had several encounters within the building itself. He recalls seeing the entity's upper body peering around the side of a tree while he was on the swing set during recess. Twice he remembers using the restroom at school and seeing just the Hat Man's feet underneath the stall door, as if someone was waiting for him to finish. He never heard anyone come in, and the entity wasn't there when he opened the door. Another time, while passing the gym, he glanced in and saw the Hat Man standing in the middle of the empty space, watching him pass by. These school encounters were particularly unsettling, as they occurred in a place where Brendan should have felt safe and surrounded by others. As Brendan entered his teenage years, the nature of the sightings began to change. While the Hat Man still appeared in doorways or at the edges of rooms, he also began to manifest in reflective surfaces. Brendan would catch glimpses of the figure standing just behind him in mirrors, but when he would turn around, no one would be there. It seemed the Hat Man could now appear anywhere there was a reflective surface. What makes Brendan's case particularly intriguing is the consistency and longevity of his encounters. Unlike many reported sightings of shadow people, or the Hat Man specifically, which are often isolated incidents, Brendan's experiences have spanned his entire life and occurred in various states of consciousness. This persistence has led Brendan to accept the Hat Man as an unusual but constant presence in his life. The Hat Man has followed Brendan through multiple moves and into adulthood. He recalls instances of seeing the entity walk by his open bedroom door while he was reading a book, and times when he would come out of his bedroom to find the Hat Man standing in his daughter's room across the hall. These adult encounters serve to emphasize that the phenomenon wasn't simply a childhood fantasy or a product of an overactive young imagination. One of the most striking encounters occurred when Brendan was bathing his young daughter. He'd half turned to reach for the baby shampoo behind him when he saw the Hat Man out of the corner of his eye. When he fully turned to face the entity, he slowly backed out of the room, without making a sound, and almost as if it was gliding, not walking. This happened in the middle of the day, under a bright bathroom light. Intriguingly, Brendan's daughter's eyes seemed to follow the entity as well. This incident stands out as one of the few times Brendan felt that someone else might have perceived the Hat Man, raising doubts about whether these encounters were purely mental in nature. Despite the frequency of his encounters, Brendan has never attempted to communicate with the Hat Man. It simply never occurred to him to do so. The entity has always been a silent presence, never making a sound or attempted to interact directly with Brendan. There has never been any footsteps, no rustling of clothes, nothing to indicate that the Hat Man was anything more than a visual phenomenon. Brendan describes the feeling he gets from the entity as one of polite interest or curiosity, as if it simply enjoys watching him. Brendan's experiences with the Hat Man have spanned decades, following him from childhood into adulthood through various homes and life stages. While he remains puzzled as to why this entity seems to have chosen him, he maintains that he has never felt scared or threatened by its presence. The Hat Man remains an enigma in Brendan's life, a silent observer whose purpose and nature continue to elude understanding. Recently, Brendan has considered trying to reach out the next time he sees the entity, though he acknowledges that it could be tomorrow or months from now, as the appearances seem to occur randomly. Brendan's story is not unique within the paranormal community. The Hat Man phenomenon has been reported by numerous individuals across the globe, with accounts dating back to the late 2000s. Many of these stories share similar details: the tall, dark figure with the distinctive hat, the sense of being watched, and the entity's apparent ability to appear and disappear at will. However, Brendan's experience stand out due to the longevity and the lack of fear associated with them. The Hat Man phenomenon has attracted widespread attention in recent years, inspiring documentaries and the launch of dedicated online forums where people can share their experiences. The Hat Man Project, a blog started to collect and analyse these accounts, has become a hub for those seeking to understand this mysterious entity. As Brendan continues to navigate his life with his unusual companion, he remains open to the possibility of finally communicating with the Hat Man. Whether this entity is a product of the human psyche, a shared cultural experience, or something truly supernatural remains to be seen. But for Brendan, the Hat Man is an undeniable part of his reality, a shadow that has walked alongside him his entire life, silent and watching, a mystery that continues to defy explanation.